Bluey is a goated show, but there's an episode that a lot of parents are skipping, and the reason is complicated. I was looking back on a Reddit post made earlier, and here's what it had to say. I actually really don't like the movie theater episode. Like, that is such a bad example, and Bandit just lets Bingo get away with it. I paused the movie episode and told my kids that when we go to the theater, if they even think about acting like Bingo, we would leave. What Bingo was doing is very rude and extremely disruptive to the other people watching the movie. Yeah, I don't love this episode for that reason. Same, we've started skipping that one. The movie episode makes me irrationally angry. I've been to way too many movies like that, not all of them animated kid-friendly movies, mind you, where kids will loudly talk, kick seats, etc. And understand they're young, they don't know better. That's why it's on the parents to teach them. At this point, I had not seen the episode, so I was taken aback that a Bluey episode was getting this kind of discussion, so naturally I went to watch it, and yeah, this episode sends mixed messages.
Bingo, calm it down a bit, mate.
Ooh, banana.
Hey, where's Bingo?
Banana!
Bingo!
Sorry.
So this is Bingo, and you can already tell she has a lot of energy for a movie theater, and I'm sure you know what kind of energy is to be expected at a movie theater, and kids naturally can have a lot of energy and not have that habit of switching vibes depending on location. In fact, as this episode goes on, this seems more so like a movie that Bluey wanted to see than Bingo.
Is there going to be thunder in the movie?
You sure you're ready for movies, Bluey? You're a bit of a sensitive kid.
Mackenzie's seen it.
Yeah, but you're not Mackenzie.
I know, but I'm ready.
And if you know anything about kids, if one kid wants to do something, the other kid will want to do it, even if they don't know what that thing is, just to be included. In fact, Bandit pretty much confirms this when he hears about the price of movie tickets.
1 adult and 2 kids to Chunky Chimp, thanks.
$54, please.
Chunky Chimp? Do I have to pay for the 4-year-old? She's not really gonna watch it.
Yeah, you still have to pay.
So some of you may have noticed that Bluey seems to be a bit nervous to watch this movie because there's lightning on the poster, which may imply loud noises and flashing lights. For one, I think it's clever that they had the dog character afraid of lightning, but also, this episode to a lesser extent revolves around Bluey's handling of her own fears. Unfortunately for Bandit, he'll be handling 2 separate problems, and one of them is a lot messier. As they enter the movie theater, Bandit is already on his 2nd bag of popcorn, as Bingo's already all over the place, running around the theater, speaking very loudly, and playing with the foldable chair. Meanwhile, Bluey has her paws up to her face preemptively, not a fan of the loud noises or close-up characters that appear larger on life on the big screen. As the movie starts, we see that the movie is about one character wanting to explore the lands, and another character criticizing them for being different. In the middle of this is Bandit, who, while praised for his gentle and patient parenting, is having a tougher job dealing with one of them than the other.
Bingo, don't touch that.
Dad, am I different like Chunky is? I'm the only one of my friends who doesn't watch movies.
Look, mate, I'm pretty sure that by the end of the movie, everyone will like that the monkey was different.
I want to give my flowers to the Bluey portion of this episode. She's comparing herself to other kids and doesn't have the best feelings about not being brave enough to watch a movie. The beauty of this experience is that you don't have to use a movie to relate to it. Some people are afraid of roller coasters. Some people are afraid of swimming. Some people are afraid of going into the forest. I'm pretty sure everyone watching this has had something that they feared at some point. So I'm sure some of you can already see the examples this episode may be setting for certain children who may take Bingo's behavior to heart. I mean, Bingo is running around the movie theater, which is a big no-no. Now, I want to revisit this thread because there was a defense for this episode that I'd want to hear your opinion about. They don't have kid showings near you? Usually not as dark, expected to have more kids in the audience, more lax expectations. They are at a special type of screening that is for kids. They are called sensory-friendly screenings. Now, I don't have too much experience with sensory-friendly screenings, and even so, there is a few reasons why I don't wholly agree with this defense. For one, I don't think a kid around the age and mindset of Bingo would understand the differences between a sensory-friendly screening and a regular screening and could equate this to how one would normally act. Secondly, the episode itself doesn't make it clear that they're at a special screening, which if it was the case, it would have taken 5 seconds and it would have put this episode in a completely different light. But most importantly, and I'm reading a response to this, don't you think letting your kid be loud and causing a disturbance kind of defeats the purpose of it being sensory-friendly since it's supposed to be for everyone? I'm pretty sure even at sensory sensory-friendly screenings, basic manners are still expected from everyone. Some disruptions are fine and expected, but Bingo is literally running around, changing seats, getting in front of the screen, and spilling her popcorn. Bluey stands in front of the screen during the big end scene of the movie because she is helping Bandit chase after Bingo. All of them are talking throughout. Bandit runs around chasing Bingo. That's a lot. Now, how this episode ends is kind of where everything falls apart, but we're not there yet. So now with Bandit chasing after Bingo, this goes from a slight inconvenience to a full-on interruption. Once Bandit catches Bingo, she has to go to the bathroom, to which all of this is happening. The movie is speaking about the main character having to be themselves and not worry that other people think that they're different. Bluey, still battling the feelings of being different but wanting to fit in, would ask her father about the themes of the movie.
Why does Chuba Duba tell Chunky to be yourself? Am I just being yourself?
Look, it's just monkeys singing songs, mate. Don't think too hard about it. Bingo.
I see the vision of Bandit having to switch between two different modes to deal with two different kids. It can be tiring, but important to still show these experiences. And as someone who hasn't had a child yet, I won't say that I would 100% deal with this situation any better, but that's why this thread is so interesting to me, because there's a lot of people who have children who believe they would. So this isn't even me getting on my imaginary parent soapbox and telling other people how to handle their children, but instead understanding why some parents may not want to show this specific episode to their child. When they get back to the theater, Bingo is running around again, this time even more bold to run and hide between the rows of seats. Bandit, who has L stamina, can't catch up to Bingo and asks Bluey for help. Unfortunately, as the episode has been building up, the movie does have a storm. Loud noises, flashing lights, and Bluey is too scared to watch it, putting her paws over her eyes again. While her father is too occupied to push Bluey to face her fears, the movie does a good job at convincing her.
Bluey, open your eyes and help me.
I can't do it. I'm not ready.
I should have just stayed in the trees like everyone else.
But you didn't.
Huh?
You rode off to save the village because there's no one else quite like you.
Now, in defense of this episode, they didn't particularly focus on how the other parents felt about these disruptions for the most part, nor did any of the other children in the theater join Bingo in her adventure. However, I believe that in showing this experience to children, those experiences are important as well. In fact, one comment in the thread speaks to this. I'm guessing that since the show is aimed at preschoolers, they want to show minimal hostility from adults. A 4-year-old's gotta be able to watch the show and feel safe. The rest of us just have to fill in the blanks of how people would really react. I always assumed the show was from the kids' perspective, so they don't have the outside awareness / insecurity that teens and adults have of being judged by others. The healers also mainly go to places that are child-friendly or child-centered. A lot of people they interact with also have children, so they'll sympathize with them. I see what they mean, and I will at least concede that if this is from the perspective of children, they wouldn't want to paint Bingo in too much of a bad light, even if what she's doing is slightly problematic. I can see a more assertive or forward approach from Bandit, maybe turning away some children from either Bandit's character or the episode as a whole. But when you get to how this episode ends, maybe that's still worth it.
Can we stay?
Okay, we're staying.
So what do I do?
You know what, Bingo? Just be yourself.
Yeah, I don't know if telling Bingo to be herself should have been the moral here. I can understand the spectrum of being yourself and fitting in is very messy, and it's dependent on a vast amount of social norms that it's hard for a young child to understand. It can be hard to have a lesson both be acceptable and unacceptable in different contexts, but that's why it's on the parent who does understand to guide them in that direction. Bluey is a morally driven show and aimed towards a younger audience, and I don't think the take here should be to invalidate the section of parents who understand that their children will take away Bingo having a good time, and if she's being herself and finds it fun, that they should do the same thing that Bingo does. Yes, children can be smart, but children can also be hyperactive, or just find something appealing or fun on a surface level and imitate that too. What if a child decides to slap popcorn out of other people's hands? What if a child decides to run out of the theater? What if you don't have all the money in the world to buy several bags of replacement popcorn and your child thinks that you can? This episode has a bit of a shaky landing, but I won't call it a bad episode by any means, because the Bluey half was very engaging. The journey of overcoming a fear and having that self-reflection that your friends are not afraid afraid of something that you are struggling with is a great concept. I just think that the bingo concept, especially with the message of being yourself, wasn't the best takeaway from that situation. Honestly, I haven't been this conflicted with the good and not so good parts of an episode since the 400th episode of Teen Titans Go, which you could check out here.